Here's your wrestling news for April 25th, 2023. And when a WWE TV taping arrives in the home city of a former superstar, it's not uncommon for said ex-superstar to show up backstage and have a nice reunion with their former colleagues. This week, Raw took over the Allstate Arena in Chicago, Illinois, and that brought out none other than former AEW World Champion CM Punk. PW Insider were the first to break the news of Punk being backstage, and he got the chance to speak to some people before his visit was cut short. Punk is said to have received a very warm reception backstage, and he was able to catch up with a lot of people, including Triple H. The pair had a very heated relationship both before and after Punk walked out of the company in January 2014, and given his 9-year absence, a lot of people were happy to see him. Video footage of Punk outside of Raw talking to Tamina Snuka went viral online, and Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful reports that many in WWE consider Punk's return to be little more than a publicity stunt. He explained, "Numerous wrestlers in WWE believed that the move was a publicity stunt for a return to AEW soon. There were several AEW talent in disbelief when they heard that he was backstage at Raw. WWE talent were shocked that he got backstage, even though he's got history in the company." Punk was asked to leave by Jim Kelly, WWE's head of security, and Keith Bergdorf, WWE's protective services specialist, and the former world champion left without any incident. Sapp's report adds that Vince McMahon had sent the orders remotely for Punk to be removed, and there's no shortage of animosity between those two larger-than-life personalities. As for how this affects Punk's AEW status, it was made clear to us that Punk is very much still under his AEW deal, which may have also contributed to him not being allowed to stick around backstage. Somehow his backstage presence was felt in the arena, as during Triple H's promo, several CM Punk chants were heard from the crowd, though that may have been just because the show was in Chicago. One of the names Punk spoke to before his swift exit was The Miz, someone who Punk has hardly had praise for over the years. The two were once good friends and bonded during their ECW days, but Punk quickly soured on the A-lister when Miz got the chance to headline WrestleMania in 2011, an achievement Punk never reached. PW Insider report that Punk and Miz didn't just meet backstage, but they were able to clear the air about their issues, and have been able to bury the proverbial hatchet. While Punk received a warm welcome at Raw, it appears that not everyone was thrilled to see him, as NXT's Dijak threw a lot of shade Punk's way via a tweet. While Dijak didn't reference Punk directly, he did remind fans that there is a bunch of hardworking talent who bust their ass every week backstage at Raw as well, and advised fans to enjoy the show. Punk, of course, wasn't the only big star backstage at this week's Raw, and while his surprise return after over 9 years was certainly big, Dijak wants everyone to remember the stars there every week. This was an interesting tweet for a couple of reasons, as it wasn't even known that Dijak would be backstage at Raw this week, given that he hasn't been on the main roster since his tenure as T-Bar ended. Now here he is commenting on Punk being backstage at Raw, but was in the minority given that the majority had nothing but good reactions to Punk's arrival. Well, what do you think of CM Punk being at Raw? Did he just pop in and catch up? Or was that all a plan to get fans excited over his AEW return? Either way, Punk has certainly had the wrestling world talking about him yet again, and share your reaction to his surprise appearance in the comments below. If reports are true, CM Punk will be making his return to AEW this June on the premiere episode of the brand's third weekly wrestling show. That show will air on Saturdays, and while AEW have neither confirmed the show or Punk's involvement, they could be about to give a huge clue about his future. During Wrestling Observer Live, Bryan Alvarez noted that the premiere episode will have a tagline just for that first show, and it's expected to be something to do with CM Punk. Alvarez couldn't confirm what the tagline is, but it'll certainly get the attention of fans, and perhaps AEW Collision Best in the World will be reaching our TV screens this June. Prior to this week's Raw, it was teased that Triple H had a blockbuster announcement in store, and the game certainly did not disappoint. Triple H's announcement had nothing to do with CM Punk, but he instead revealed a new championship for WWE, complete with title design. The game's segment started with a discussion about Roman Reigns, who is closing in on 1,000 days as Universal Champion, and Triple H said Reigns was smart to defend his title as little as possible. Reigns' lucrative contract may be good for the Tribal Chief, but it is bad for WWE, according to Triple H, who announced that whichever brand Reigns isn't on post-draft will have a new world champion. The new WWE World Heavyweight Champion will be crowned at WWE Night of Champions on May 27th, which will also be day 1000 of Reigns' tenure with his gold. On Twitter, several superstars reacted to the new title, and interestingly, Logan Paul tweeted an emoji to make it clear that he has his eyes on becoming the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. WWE wasted no time in listing the new championship on their WWEshop.com website, and this replica will set fans back $500. Much like other title designs released in recent years, the championship includes customizable side plates rather than a nameplate, which fans can also purchase on the website. While Triple H's announcement was huge, there have been reports and rumors for some time that WWE were planning on introducing a new world championship. A new championship is always a big deal, but especially when it's a new world title. And what do you think of the new championship, and who do you see as the next WWE World Heavyweight Champion? Back to Raw, as this week's show saw Triple H unveil the new WWE World Heavyweight Championship due to Roman Reigns' reduced schedule. The biggest reason for the return of the big gold belt, as cited by the game, was so that the world champion could appear every week on Raw or SmackDown, something that hasn't been the case since Reigns unified the WWE and Universal Championships at WrestleMania 38. Now there will be a fighting champion appearing each week, which will put less pressure on the Tribal Chief to show up, and this means that WWE won't be splitting up Roman Reigns' championship, as some had prophesized. Reigns won't be losing either one of his championships, meaning that he can be the undisputed WWE Universal Champion for a long time to come, all while the rest of the roster battle over the World Heavyweight title. Who knows? Reigns could even come close to Bruno Sammartino's record-breaking reign of 2,803 days, and if he were to achieve this unthinkable feat, it would be in 2028. For Reigns to do that, he would need to just keep showing up for title matches about 5 times a year, which would be obscene and offensive to fans, had WWE not introduced a new world championship. Some fans had been hoping that WWE would force Reigns to vacate one of his titles due to the infrequency on TV, at least solidified that the Tribal Chief is staying on top for a long time. Reigns also does not need to be pinned for a new champion to be crowned, which admittedly does make this new title feel like something of a consolation prize, celebrating the best wrestlers who can't beat the head of the table. Either way, the big gold belt will need serious work if it's to be on the level of the undisputed WWE Universal title, but fans should have confidence in Triple H's booking ability to get the job done. As the story goes, Roman Reigns has become so powerful that the company had to bring in a new world title because of him, and with the new title going to the brand he won't be on post-draft, things will only get worse for those superstars who share the same show. But how much longer do you think Reigns will be champion? Could he surpass 2,803 days now that a new world championship is in play? Leave your predictions in the comments. The next World Heavyweight Champion will be crowned at Night of Champions next month, but the big question now is who should be the first holder of the gold. To many, the obvious answer is Cody Rhodes, as becoming the world champion has been the reason for Cody's return, but this is an obvious decision that WWE should avoid. When Cody returned to WWE last April, he did so as a conquering hero, and many immediately predicted that he would be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns. While that didn't happen at WrestleMania 39, it doesn't mean it'll never happen, and Rhodes' first world title win must come at the expense of the Tribal Chief. Cody has unfinished business with the Bloodline after Solo Sikoa interfered to help Reigns retain, and it would be fitting that the American Nightmare be the one to end Reigns' tenure on top after he surpasses 1,000 days. Having Cody win a new championship so quickly after the defeat to Reigns would make the World Heavyweight Championship seriously seem like a consolation prize, and while the idea of finishing the story is tempting, especially after fans criticize WWE for not doing that at WrestleMania, now is not the right time. So if Cody isn't going to be the one to leave Jeddah as the new World Heavyweight Champion, the big question is simple: who is? WWE has no shortage of talented wrestlers who would make excellent picks to be the first World Heavyweight Champion of this era, but the fans have their pick. On Twitter, many members of the WWE Universe rallied on WWE to make Seth Rollins the new champion, and it's not hard to see why. Not only is Rollins one of WWE's most popular stars, but he has proven to be a vital asset to the company, especially after Reigns began appearing less thanks to his contract. Not only that, but the Architect is the only person to have a premium live event win over Reigns, albeit because Roman got himself disqualified at the 2022 Royal Rumble. Whether WWE makes Rollins the new champion, only time will tell. And do you think Seth should be the next World Heavyweight Champion? Or do you think there's a better option? Sound off in the comments. Now, Vince McMahon wasn't at this week's Raw and has kept his distance since the much-panned post-WrestleMania edition of the Red brand. While McMahon hasn't been at a WWE event since April 3rd, he has been making minor changes to some episodes, but there was nothing minor about his involvement this week. PW Insider Elite reported that Raw was quite chaotic backstage, as there had been major changes to Raw made remotely at McMahon's request. It was also still noted that it's not at the level of a few weeks ago, referring to the post-Mania Raw, but added that it's bubbling towards that direction. McMahon may not have an official role in WWE's creative team, but the fact remains that the executive chairman can have anything he wants changed to suit his whims. Last night's Raw wasn't as chaotic and messy as the April 3rd show, despite CM Punk and the New World title, but it wasn't smooth sailing, and we can only hope that lessons are learned. McMahon wasn't physically in Chicago for this week's Raw, but that didn't stop him getting involved, and his changes had a serious impact on the roster. In an update, PW Insider Elite added that the roster are far from thrilled with the changes McMahon made, stating, "We're working to confirm the changes, but have been hearing from multiple sources about talent unhappiness. We can't say for certain what changes McMahon made or if they were for the better or worse, but the fact that he's still making changes after what happened earlier this month has angered the roster." This Friday, WWE will begin its annual draft, which will shape the landscape of WWE for at least the next year, and we imagine there's plenty of people in WWE at this very moment worrying about last-minute changes by the executive chairman. But what do you make to all this? Did you enjoy this week's Raw despite McMahon's changes? And what do you think the boss changed from the original plans for the show? More from Raw, as Cody Rhodes has bounced back from his WrestleMania loss relatively well and has been impressive in his feud with Brock Lesnar so far. Though last week's line about Brock being a coward and not a cowboy didn't land, Rhodes has done well and had an excellent outing on Raw against Finn Balor. Rhodes once again got the win, hyping up the Cody vs. Lesnar match for Backlash, and Finn Balor hardly looked bad in defeat either. Lesnar will be on next week's Raw, which will be night 2 of the draft and the go-home show before Backlash, and expect fists to fly between Brock and Cody on the road to Puerto Rico. When Brock Lesnar returned to WWE in 2021, he did so with a cowboy hat, and that face character was a big hit with fans. Now Lesnar is a heel once more, and we've only scratched the surface of this new character, but Cody Rhodes had a lot of fun in regards to the Beast at a recent live event. During a show in Toledo, Ohio, Rhodes was given a cowboy hat from a fan in the crowd, and after donning the headwear, declared that Brock Lesnar's screwed now, y'all. While Rhodes had fun at the event, he will be all business when he steps in the ring with Lesnar at Backlash, as the American Nightmare looks to dispatch of the 10-time WWE World Champion. After a mixed at best response in AEW, Cody is now a beloved babyface in WWE, but the secret now is to keep fans on board. Speaking on the latest Click This, Kevin Nash said that if Cody continues bringing up his WrestleMania loss, he risks losing the fans, who will hardly want to support a guy they keep being reminded lost the biggest match of his career. Nash added that it's pretty obvious Rhodes lost against Roman Reigns, as he isn't walking around as the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, and it does Cody no good by continuing to bring it up week after week. It has become increasingly rare for WWE to have a babyface that fans naturally want to support, but they do have it in Cody Rhodes. And do you believe WWE is at risk of turning fans off the American Nightmare? Share your views below. Back to Raw, as Bobby Lashley, Austin Theory, and Bronson Reed built up to their upcoming US title match, but when the dust was settled, it was Reed who stood tall. This massive brawl gave the fans in Chicago just a taste of what we can expect to see at Backlash, and once again, WWE booked Reed well, something that has been a recurring thing as of late. Reed has been handled well ever since Elimination Chamber, and even more so post-WrestleMania. And we wouldn't be surprised to see WWE go all in on Reed and have him win the US title on May 6th at Backlash. Do you think he'll become US champion, or should someone else leave San Juan with the gold? Let us know in the comments. And we're ending with Raw, as Bad Bunny had been heavily advertised for the show, but he only appeared in the final minutes of the broadcast. The main event saw Rey Mysterio and Damian Priest's match end in a DQ, which was a disappointing way to close the show, but fans didn't have time to think about it. Bunny returned with a kendo stick to get one over on Priest, who sent him through the announce table a few weeks ago, and said that he will no longer be the host of Backlash, but instead will be competing against Priest in a street fight. While that part was great, the DQ finish involving 15-time champion Rey Mysterio was disappointing and overlooked, and hardly becoming of the Hall of Famer. And what did you think of the ending to Raw?